All right. So I am here on Real Raw Results with the man, the myth, the legend.
That's it.
Yeah. Some would call him Reggie Brock. Others call him Legend. I don't know which
Now,
one
my
it is.
wife calls me different things, and
Yeah.
I probably can't say on this
I think
recording.
I
But
think we can beep them out too. I think there's a beep somewhere in there. So, Reggie, I'm super excited to have you on.
yeah,
Followed you. I love our story, how we met. Probably could have met under different circumstances, but I'm glad we did.
but look, I mean, it's not always about the start. It's usually what happens after, right? And
Yeah.
so we met in some kind of odd. I mean, not odd, but just different
Yeah.
circumstances. And what's been fun for me is to watch how you guys have really started putting your dream together, not just talking about it, but actually executing, right? And
Yep.
the 2 years that has happened over the last 2 years, despite COVID, despite everything else, I'm always excited to spend time with people who don't use excuses as an excuse,
Oh
right?
yeah.
They're not looking for why we didn't, but they're looking for how can we.
Yep.
And you guys have just been it's been fun for me to watch. And even though we started in one path, it's interesting how things have changed and
Yeah.
we're going in a different direction.
Yep.
So it has to start somewhere, but how it develops from there is what matters.
You attract who you are and what you are, right?
Yeah.
And it'll always come full circle.
Yeah.
Everything we do, you want to be a. I had this conversation today. You want to be a problem solver, not a problem giver. And I think that was one of the. I don't think I've walked away from a meeting, but under the circumstances we met, walk away from a meeting. I'm like, man, I like that guy. I hope this works out.
Yeah.
And it was funny, as I said, it will. It's gonna work out, right?
Yeah.
And it did, and it came full circle.
So tell me this, before, and I know we're probably getting off your track
Yeah,
here,
no,
but
no.
I'm just curious. So from the time we met at Papado's that day till today, what have been really the drivers behind y'all's business that's helped you kind of execute through?
Yeah, that is we deploy, gratitude, hustle, and winning. And I know it sounds cliche, if you
Yeah.
will, but when I wake up in the morning and I open my eyes, I'm so grateful for another day, and that's how I start my day. And it sounds very just cliche. Oh, I'm grateful for it, but I am, and that allows me to appreciate everything I have here because I feel like I'm living on borrowed
Yeah.
time. Shouldn't have been here. Shouldn't be in this position. And so I think that transitions to everything we do is that I firmly believe you can't get everything you want until you give everyone around you what
That's
they
good.
want.
Yeah.
And that's what I believe. And I've had people that work here currently that have called me, I thought you were a fraud when I met you. And maybe some people don't agree with what I do, and that's okay. I don't hold that against anyone difference. But, you know, it starts with one, your work ethic and who you are. Social media, video, putting yourself out there, it doesn't change you, it exposes you. Just like
Yeah.
money.
That's good.
Money doesn't change you, money
Yeah.
exposes you. So for us, I look at it, it's like when I had my kid, man. I had my second son, was born during COVID, April, March. And the day my wife had him on a Friday, it was an emergency C-section, so it wasn't planned.
Yeah.
9:30 in the morning. Hey, man, by noon, I was back at work. Same day, because we had just opened a company. The company opened in November. We were less than 6 months old. We're in the middle of COVID, and I was fighting for my dreams, my family's dreams, and
Yeah.
everyone's around me. And I was back at work at 12. Saturday, I was out in the field again because I wasn't going to let anything come in between us reaching those. And I think that's resonated with the people around us. We have a bunch of alpha winners, man, and they believe that and they live it. It's become their vision. It's not just my vision. I don't think you have to have a vision. You have to believe in one, and they believe in the results vision for getting results for us, our customers, our families, and everyone around us.
What a great story. I mean, the fact of the matter is, you can have a good vision, but without the hustle and the grind and the purpose behind it. And I love what you said about Thanksgiving because I think that we take for granted way too much.
Yeah.
And by doing that, I think we isolate parts of us that have the most potential
Yeah.
because we've shut them down.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I appreciate that. And I think that, I've been proud to watch you guys somewhat from a distance just to see that progression and that hustle and that grind. And I mean, the quality of your stuff that you're doing online is just, and I told you this before, but it's just, it's so educational and informative, not just for me as a distributor or a contractor, but the homeowner.
Yeah.
Every piece of the puzzle has some kind of feeder source from y'all. I think that's really important.
Well, because as an industry as a whole, I can't hate on anyone with the same dreams as me. And so I don't want other roofers to lose. I want others to win, because if there's good being talked about, everybody from suppliers to distributors to
Yeah.
crews, we all win, right? And so let's do that. And I
Yeah.
don't want to change the game. I see a lot of companies that we're going to change the game. We're going to change the game. And I don't want to change it. I kind of want to create a new one
Right.
under the roofing umbrella.
Yeah.
I think guys like you are crucial to that. I think that's why I was attracted to, getting to know you, is that don't change the game, man. Just create a new one.
Yeah.
And it could go above and beyond what I think any of us ever imagined.
So that being said, I'm glad to be here.
Hey, man. Pumped to have you.
Yeah.
So for people that don't know, who is Reggie Brock? Kind of what do you do? How you got started? Maybe let's go way back. What did you do before you were in the roofing industry?
Yeah. So I was in the insurance business for about 25 years.
Okay.
So I did everything from sell policy to help construct language to get policies issued in the state. I had a lot of background in that business. Prior to that, I was in the ministry.
Really?
So, yeah, my dad's a preacher. I was raised in a preacher's home. I went to Bible college, came out and went on the evangelistic field, started preaching, and was married and went through a divorce. And in the denomination I was in, going through divorce, they basically decided you need to have a new career. And I don't mean that harshly, because my family's still in that, and in that particular denomination. I've got no hard feelings, but I had to choose a different career, so I went into insurance, and so spent 25 years doing that. And in 2010, my world fell apart. Honestly, I mean, I made some horrible decisions that affected me, my wife, and my son, and I had to start over at 50.
Wow.
And so we moved to Texas from Georgia. And I'll never forget it. My nephew, who I was actually with last night at dinner, he said to me, "What are you going to do?" And I'm like, he's a home builder in Metroplex. And I said, "I don't know." He said, "You ought to try insurance." And I said, "No." He said, "You ought to try roofing." And I'm like, it ain't that bad yet.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
We've not got to that level. Yeah. And he said, "Look, here's what the kind of money." And the thing with roofing for me was it allowed me financially, if another other way, to get on my feet quick.
Yeah.
And so, I worked the first storm in 2010 in San Antonio with a good friend of mine, Brandon Smythe, who gave me a job. I literally just went out and knocked doors, got up on roofs, and, did the same thing your salespeople do every day, try to make opportunities happen. Yeah. And so what was interesting is I didn't know what I was looking at on the roof, but when I got off the roof, I knew how to deal with the homeowner.
Yeah.
And so through a course of event, had a lot of success, got myself kind of back financially with the grace of God and an understanding wife who decided to stay with me. We just kind of recovered. And I started having guys calling me going, "Hey, man, can you come over and help us?" Because I was really, really good at getting deductibles. And in Texas, I mean, this is where you got high deductibles and you got everybody giving them away. And so we had to figure out a way, because it was profitable. I mean, that's the big profit.
That's your profit of the job.
And so guys started hearing I was getting it and called me and said, "Hey, man, come over and can you help my guys?" And so I did that and ended up working for an MRP for a while. And now I'm at Beacon. I'm on the national account team with Beacon. Love my job. Love the people that I work with, the customers that we service. And I travel across the country now pretty constantly.
Yeah. What are you doing traveling across the country?
So I work in the storm kind of restoration side of our business. So on our national account, Beacon has groups of different folks that handle different types verticals in our business. I, along with Michael Carver, now we've just added a guy, Phil Townsend, to our team. And we just kind of work with guys who are generally in multiple locations.
Okay.
Or they go to storms, but their primary focus is storm restoration. And so those are the guys, as you know, I mean, they're all across the country. And so I go visit them and help service, these guys, so that when a storm hits, we can get product when we can in their hands.
Yeah. And so you'd say, I mean, what's your main identify hurdles and try to remove them if I'm a contractor?
Yeah.
Kind of what you're there for.
I mean, right now we've got some real grave supply chain issues.
Yeah.
And so it makes just a little bit more complexity to the picture. But I enjoy problem solving.
Yeah.
I enjoy creating new opportunities for guys who either aren't customers of Beacon or, are moving into storm world. They've never been before. And me being able to kind of sit down with them and talk them through some of the things that they may not have thought about, it really inspires me to help. That's what I like doing. I just, you think you have all the answers, but here's what I believe. The huddle you surround yourself with is really, really critical to the longevity of your success.
Oh, yeah.
And so I want to be a part to these guys, not the answer, but just a part of that, to be able to go in and say, all right, now you're going in here. Here's some things that you haven't considered that you really need to consider, so you can eliminate some hindrances that I know you're going to have when you go to that market.
Been there, done. I've seen that. I've seen what this other person's gone through, and it's helping the people around you.
And I like serving. I like helping, and I like helping these guys get better at what they're doing.
Was that part of the transition from roofing sales or whatever to being on the supply side? What led to that transition?
Honestly, I had no intentions of going into distribution. I was really, really happy just kind of consulting and, again, helping these guys get better at whatever area of their business it was. But then I became quick friends with Michael Carver in particular and Greg Bloom, who's our team lead at Beacon. And they asked me to come into the Beacon branches and start teaching some of them about what contractors are feeling in their markets, on just some insight I had. And I was in like 184 of their branches, and then one day I got the call, and Greg said, "Hey man, I want you to interview for this job." And so there was not an intention behind me really to end up there, but it's been a really good fit. I just celebrated 2 years there, and it's been a blessing for me.
Congratulations.
And thank you very much, to work with these guys.
When did you start there? What month?
November.
That's when we opened results.
I know.
November. Yeah, it's our 2 years.
November 18th.
Ours was November 23rd.
Yeah.
So we're 5 days apart. That's crazy.
That's right.
So hard-hitting questions now. What you said you started over at 50, but you said that you kind of were in the sales just for the money, right, to get on your feet. But did you always have that servant mindset and maybe didn't know it? Or when did you discover that? Because I feel like a lot of the stuff you're doing now, you're helping roofers, you're helping other people. It's been a transition here recently. Did you always want to do that, or is this something you've kind of organically figured out that you wanted to do and started really deploying that?
Yeah. So I think it's always been in me.
Yep.
I mean, especially growing up and watching my dad, he was always a servant leader, what I mean? And that word's tossed around, but let me tell you what servant leader means to me, where you have the intentions of other as a higher priority than yours. So if you get up every day, which my dad did, and did the best he possibly could to help the people around him in the church that he was in at that time, or whatever church that we were at. And it didn't even have to be a church. Listen, my dad, one time, I'll never forget this, and I was probably 7 or 8 years old, and my dad pastored a church by the railroad tracks in the town that we lived.
Yeah.
And I walked out one day, and I was looking for my dad, and I saw him sitting out on the railroad tracks with a man that I didn't know. And I'm like, what is this? And my dad had a bag with him, and in it was some there was some chicken in there. There's some stuff that I knew that we had eaten for lunch. And there my dad sat with this man who had no ability to help my dad one way or the other.
Exactly.
Right? But my dad's heart was to feed a hungry man. No outcome could have benefited my dad, but he took food off of our table and gave it to a hungry man sitting by that railroad track. Now, here's the funny story, Dustin. At the end of that was on a Saturday night, I think. Sunday morning, we get up and go to church. And my dad, he came home and I said, what did you tell this man? He said, I told him I loved him, son. I fed him and I told him I loved him. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, why would you tell somebody you don't know you love them? Because love changes lives.
100%.
And so my dad was Sunday morning, started service, and I remember sitting on the front row, and all of a sudden we had double doors in the back of the church, and they came busting open. And I'm like, what in the world is going on here? That man that was sitting on the track with my dad felt so compelled and loved that he thought, where he is, I want to be. Now think about that.
Yeah.
The impact we have on others should cause that reaction to us. Where Dustin is, I want to be. If we're influencing people in a way that inspires them and provides for them, they will hunt us down
to be where we're at.
Exactly.
Yep.
That He was basically a homeless man at the time. Came through the back door, as unimpressive as he was dressed. He saw my dad sitting on the platform. Now, most people walk into a church they've never been. And you know what they do? They'll find a seat in the back.
Yeah, he went to the front.
No. He didn't go to the front. He went up on the platform and sat down by my dad. Now, that influenced me to think, if I can provide for others what they need and me not be the recipient of the gain, I'll be able to influence people in a way that can help them and serve them. And it changed my life. Seeing my dad deal with that man changed my life forever.
That's amazing.
It's crazy.
It is. I get, everybody gets frustrated, but if you open the door for the thank you, your shit's broken. And you got to open the door because it's the right thing. And
Right.
I open the door for everybody. I'm probably making it awkward at times because it'll be that person that's 10 feet away, but I'll hold it. And, people get mad when they don't say thank you. I'm like, that's not why I'm doing it.
Right.
I'm doing it because it's the right thing. And similar to me, man, it took me a long time to realize that maybe I had that in me. Maybe I was almost, I don't want to say I was ashamed of it, but it's not a quality that I feel like, people don't, like you said, it was weird for someone to say,
Yeah.
I love you to a stranger.
Yeah.
It's weird to say that to just random people, right? Leadership isn't a name tag. It isn't a title. It is influence, right? Can you influence the people around you? And I always had that same quality. I mean, I was homeless at 14, and I would give you the shirt off my back. Like, I remember having $20 in my name, and I had a friend say, hey, man, I don't got any gas money. Can you help me out? I literally had like $20, and I gave it to him. And I didn't have a place to live, right? But I was always grateful for what I had and grateful for the people around me and wanted to help and wanted to influence people. And I think it was a weird thing going through high school. I have people that I went to high school, like, I had no idea you were in that situation.
Yeah.
No idea. And, maybe there was just who I was. Even when I had nothing, man, I tried to give everybody everything.
Yeah. And so it's not, excuse me, but it's not an either or. It doesn't mean it has to be in you and it can't grow organically.
Exactly.
If it's in you, it will grow organically.
And it'll come about. And I think everybody has it in them to a point. I think humans are natural. I know everything you see, but I think humans are naturally good. We're just taught bad things, right? And we're taught that when someone doesn't say, and I know it's simple, but somebody opens a door for you, they should say thank you. Well, then why are you opening the door for them? Are you opening it for you or them? You got to do, and I used to get frustrated with it. I used to get upset and get angry. Well, thank you.
Right.
But it's like, that's not why I'm doing it. And my life changed when I stopped doing things with the expectation of something in return. And when I started doing it just to do it because I thought it was the right thing, my life changed because I stopped counting, whatever it is. Like, I did that for you. You owe me something.
So the reason is, listen to the voices. I mean, just think about the voices that are around us right now. Everybody is pushing us to be influential, but nobody's pushing us to pay the price for that.
Yeah.
Right? They just think you can show up and get a bunch of likes on Facebook, and you can, you can get reshares and all the kind of stuff that comes with this, and just think that you're going to impact people.
Yeah.
That's until you can do something for somebody without, here's the key, without concern for validation. To your point, I opened the door. She didn't say thank you. I ain't doing it again.
Exactly.
See, not all the time in what you see initially are you going to reap what you sow. I tell people this you're going to reap what you sow, but it may take time.
It may take forever. It might take a year, a day, weeks.
Right.
Yeah.
The point, though, is if you have to decide in your heart what you want to do without concern about the payback.
Yeah.
And trust that if you plant good seeds, you're going to get good harvested return on it, but in due time and in due season. And so this is what I want on this thought I want to leave with you, and that is this. People are deceived to think that we can plant a seed tomorrow and eat off the fruit of that tree the next day.
Exactly.
You can't do it today and eat off the fruit tomorrow. That's not what happens. And so people don't want to put the work in, dude.
Because it's hard.
Yeah, they just don't want to put
hard.
the work in. And so the voices around us are saying, just get a bunch of likes. If people will reshare your content, they think that's the answer. Well, the fact of the answer, the matter of is this: that's not true. If you want to impact people and influence people, dude, I've been doing stuff for 10 years that nobody has noticed at all until now.
Yeah.
Until now.
Yeah.
10 years of waiting. And then all of a sudden people go, man, that's really good. I'm like, I've been saying this for 10 years.
Yeah, you just now know. Well, and there's things that you do people don't even know of, right? I got interesting. I did a phone interview the other day with a guy that I know, call him a friend, and he said, I always that when I'm talking to people, man, what do you want? What do you inspire life?
Yeah.
Like, let's grow, let's go, right? If you don't know what you want, I can't help you.
Right.
You got to understand. Again, we can figure it out, but you have to fundamentally internalize where you want to be, right? Start with the end in mind. So he's, man, I really want to be a part of results because I like what you guys do. You guys give back. You do this, you do that. And he goes, I like that stuff. I'm involved in charities and giving back. And I said, cool. What a charity do you give to? And he goes, and I haven't. So we just said you like to do that. And he hadn't done it yet, but he was thinking. He wasn't being malicious.
Right.
So we start telling him like, hey, there's a stigma that it's good to give back and it's good to give your time, donate, whatever the case may be. But then he wasn't doing those things, and I said, hey man, I would love to help you with that. And then he asked me the questions like, I see your social media and you post about it. Do you ever get any backlash about that? I said, ironically, yeah. Sometimes I've had people tell me, well, you shouldn't post. You just do a good deed and don't post it.
Right.
And for me, man, I don't give a shit about what anyone thinks of me, and I don't post it to get recognition for the good deed because there's a small circle around me, and I mean that my family, my wife, and my 2 kids.
Yeah.
That's where my legacy and what they think of me is what matters the most, and then a select few outside of that really know who Dustin Gutkowski is, like internally to the core. Those are the people that I know. They see me on a daily basis. They see what I give. That man, there's thousands of things that I've done the last 2 to 4 years that people don't even know about. The reason that I post some of them or get them out there is not for the likes or the shares. And if that's your motive, respect. Do what makes you happy. I do it because I want to inspire someone. I want to show someone you give back, it can change someone's life. It can change your life. And the reason I think people are good at my 4-year-old son, I gauge a lot of business off my 4-year-old son. When last time we did a donation for the kids for hungry kids. There's a great organization here, Food for the Soul, local. They feed hungry kids. Took my son. He woke up at 6 a.m., which was incredible to get there and helped us pack food, donate food. And at the end of it, he goes, Dad, I want to help more kids. I want to give my toys. So he packed up some of his toys to give to someone. And then he constantly wants to do things like that now because he sees that it's the fulfillment of being able to help somebody. So for me, it's like, hey, if I can show someone to do this, it's cool to give back. It's okay to go love somebody else you don't know, to give back to a perfect stranger because you could change their life. And it's okay to post it. My intent's to not get anything in return when I post those things. It's just to show, hey, you can go do these things and it's okay, right?
Right.
It's okay to do that kind of stuff.
And there's no shame in that game, so to speak. And so anybody watching this, I'm not saying that posting and sharing and wanting likes is not wrong. It's just you ask about the motivation behind an influencer. And the motivation behind an influencer does stuff, in my opinion, without the thought of validation needed.
Exactly.
And then it comes because it's going to come. Good seeds planted or bad seeds planted are going to reap a harvest. Yep. And so, I just don't want anybody thinking I'm hearing this that
No.
I don't think that's not the case at all.
No, and I don't think that's how it came across. Okay, I think as most people, I think they question what they either post or whatever because they don't believe what they're really doing. And when you don't believe what you're really doing, then it doesn't. Like for me, I love making videos to try to educate homeowners, to educate the community on what we do because the Results brand is my oxygen. It gives me life into something outside of my family, wife and kids first, no doubt. But the Results brand is just like my oxygen, man. Yeah. It's, hey, Dustin, you want to go play golf? No, I don't want to play golf. I'd rather work on the business. And it's a game to me. It's a game, and not a game where it's like I take this as a joke. Growing up as a kid, you always like playing games, whether it's dodgeball, football, video games, didn't matter. Games were your favorite thing as a kid. This to me feels like a game. Yeah. I'm that kid in recess. I'm like, man, I don't want to go fishing. I don't. I love you. I respect you. Maybe I'm a horrible friend, but I want to go build the brand. I want to hang out with my wife and kids. I want to bring my wife and kids to help build the brand. Yep. I want to help Joe, who just started, change his life financially to be in a place to where he can do what he wants well. And this is just my oxygen. It's what I love to do. So I post the videos to try to educate. That's where it comes from.
And you post, we only have limited oxygen.
Yep.
And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with fishing or golfing or nothing like that. But what you've chosen to do, it appears, is to put what oxygen you have to use in a different way.
It's just my hobby.
Right.
That's all it is.
Yeah. But your hobby tends to help people.
And that's what it is. What I love to do.
Yeah. It's pretty simple.
Yeah. That's what it is. So, Reggie, I know we got a couple of these on here too. And we kind of, I think this goes right into what we're kind of just talking about is I know you're doing a lot of this and I love this. This is why I do Results, not just roofing, but the PDR is the legacy. and I do it for, I say, the jersey and the Raptors,
Yep.
right? That's what I go for. I want the legacy. It's not what you leave for people; it's what you leave in people. You talk a lot about this.
Yeah.
What's your legacy?
Yeah. So there's two things when I'm gone I won't remember. And first one is a very, very selfish, and that's what I think when people think about legacy, that's what they think most of is what are people going to think about me when I leave? I read a quote the other day, or when I'm gone. I read a quote the other day that powerfully describes how I feel about legacy. And the quote said this, and I'm paraphrasing. It said, "We will all die. Extending our life is not the answer. Creating something that will outlive us is."
Absolutely.
And so my self ambition is not just that when I'm gone, people go like, he was such a great guy. There's really two things that I want people to remember. Number one, and we just talked about this. First of all, you've got to realize the legacy you leave is the legacy you live.
Love that. Legacy you leave is the legacy you live.
Right.
That's who you are.
Yeah. And so if you're waiting till define who you are when you're gone, the clock's run out.
Yeah.
So what I tell guys all the time, and I tell myself every day, is the decisions you make today are telling the truth about what people remember you when you're gone. It doesn't matter what I try to tell people and convince them of. The facts are the facts. And every legacy thought of remembrance that people have of me will be driven back to something that they saw in me.
100%.
If I live it, I can leave it. If I don't live it, I can't leave it.
Yeah.
That's legacy to me. The other thing is for me is that you have got to find something to contribute to that's bigger and more important to you than you. And it can't just be wealth, and it can't just be prestige, and it just can't be accolades. You have to find things in your life that you contribute to that will outlive you, but that don't necessarily promote you.
Yeah. It's a tough balance.
And so, for me, I try to get up every day and just go like this. What can I do today in living that will not embarrass or bring shame against my name or my family's name? And so that when I'm gone, that remembrance will be the right things they saw me living. The leaving will be represented by the living.
Yep.
And so, that's powerful. That's kind of the way I want to live what I want to leave.
Yeah, man, it's this is a crazy story. No one actually knows this story. It's zero besides my wife. So when we found out my son it was when he was being born or right around the time, I wanted to change my last name. Me and my wife were already married, and I don't know who my father is. Have no freaking idea, like zero. Don't have a name, no idea. Won't get into the mom or stepdad. It's just horrible upbringing. From that standard. And I was kind of embarrassed, man. I made some dumb decisions when I was younger, running with the wrong crowds. I didn't have a father figure in any shape or form, just, showing how to do everything wrong. But me and my wife had when I say deep conversations, like picking out names, like, hey, I want to change my name because I want to just start over. I was probably coming to this realization that I was embarrassed of kind of who I was, and I spent a lot of time being unauthentic, portraying someone I didn't want to be because I was embarrassed of my past. I tried to run for it, right? And run from it, and you can't run from it. It catches up to you wherever you go. And accountability is so misread. We think accountability is beating ourselves up, and it's not. It's just owning up to your actions and what you've done, and then moving on from them, right? And learning. And we were going to change. I was going to change my last name. I didn't want to be Kikowski anymore because it didn't mean anything to me because I didn't have a family that didn't have that, right? It was actually my mom's maiden name when I took it when I was born, so it was just okay. It didn't mean anything to me. And then the day I saw my son born, it changed everything in my life. And I was like, well, I'm going to start this legacy from here on. And I thought, what's the one thing that I can do that will leave this thing? And I remember crying for 45 minutes, pain leaving my body, and I was like, wow, man, Connor John Kikowski is my guy. And I just remember all right. Name people that are a good person or a good father. They're usually a good person. You don't see people that are a bad father and are a good person. You just don't see it. And maybe I'm wrong. I'm not saying there's not outliers, but hey, man, if you're a good father, you're probably a good person or have good intentions in some shape or form to raise a child, and people on the vice versa that are bad fathers. No offense if you're a bad father, but you're probably not saying you don't make mistakes. I make more than enough parenting mistakes, right? My intent always to be good, but I thought, man, I can leave this legacy for these guys. Like this guy, this is what I'm going to start is with getting up every day and the intent to be a good father, to be a good husband to my wife, who's the mother of my children. I'm
Yeah.
just going to start there. And it was like this moral compass, man, that just started with raising a child with mother. It worked for me. I can't explain it, but it was like, if I can be a good father, it's like my intent's good, right? Treat other people like I would my kids. When somebody messes up as an employee, you're fired. But you wouldn't fire your kid. I would never fire my son for him acting. He doesn't clean his room, you're fired. Why would I ever think that? And so we don't treat our children that way. So why would we treat people that are close to us that work for us? Now, again, hey man, if somebody goes out and steals from your company and doing things like that, that's a different conversation. But people just being like making mistakes, it made me not judge them. I stopped being so judgmental because, like, hey man, if everybody judged me along my life, I definitely wouldn't be here, right? And that was where I started, and I was like, I want to build this legacy, and the money doesn't mean anything. I give it all up. The money, the company, everything I'd give up in a heartbeat. And I don't think one thing people realize me is if you gave me an option that I couldn't have the companies, I'd give it all up. I would for my family and wife without even thinking twice. But at the same time, if you told me I couldn't see my family, speak to them, talk to them for the next 12 months to give them everything they ever wanted, I would turn it all off. And that's the thing for me is I'm not the most talented guy in the room. People can say hardworking, work harder, not smarter. I don't care about that. I will do whatever it takes at all costs to get it done. And, well, your kid, your why. The kid's not the why. It's the legacy. I love my family. I would argue there's no one on the earth that loves their family more than I do. They've changed my life. I owe them so much. But I don't do it for them. I do it for me, to prove everybody wrong, to build this legacy selfishly for me, to unselfishly give them everything they've ever wanted.
Right.
And that's my reason. And I used to say, well, my why is my family. But that's not. So many times you'll give up with your family. Your dreams will be bought. Something will come up. You'll have a problem and you'll give in, right?
Yeah.
How many people have wife and kids or, spouses and they give up on their dreams because they're doing it for a reason that's not long-term. You have to internally find something you're doing it for. What's your legacy? That's why it's called your legacy. Connor is going to create his own legacy. Kobe's going to create his own legacy. Right. My wife's creating her own legacy. And so you have to create one for yourself and stop selling yourself that you have to create your legacy for somebody else. It just doesn't make sense. And it's not a long-term achievable goal if you do it that way.
Well, the cool thing is there's always a reset button.
Always.
It's never over until you say it's over.
So you quit.
So here's what I would say specifically is my hope and remembrance. Because I failed a lot. I have been a bad dad. I've been a bad husband. I've been a bad friend. I've been a bad son.
We
I've
all
been
have.
a bad.
Yep.
But watch this. I said to myself 12 years ago to this 2 months, 12 years ago, I said this. I'm going to be remembered for my bounce back, not my setbacks.
Exactly.
And so somebody hearing this today may just be so down on themselves. They've lost confidence. They've lost important relationships with them, that it's not over until they quit.
That's it.
And so you have the chance today to start your bounce back. You don't now. I was on a call this morning with some guys, and I told them they're just in a really state of despair. They've made some mistakes. They've done some things that they shouldn't. And I told them, I said, look, the first step to a comeback or a bounce back is stop digging in the hole you're in. Just, there's some things you got to turn off and turn down and go like, I can't do that anymore.
Stop stopping yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I'm here to say today that my bounce back and comeback will be far more remembered than the multitude of setbacks that I have. And anybody can say the same thing starting today.
That's it.
And so when I die, my son, my wife, are they going to say, this dude was a perfect husband or father? No. But what they will say is he never quit. He always pursued. He tried as much as I could have ever hoped for to restore what was lost, right? And the story has turned because I'm committed to bouncing back and coming back more than I am my setbacks.
Yep.
And our focus has to be on one or the other. And you've met people, you work with them, that they're constantly in the past. They're constantly thinking about, my God, I've made this mistake. I've done this, and it's forever going to mark me. And then they never free themselves to pursue this comeback, this bounce back, and progress. You don't need to do that. You are what you are. You've done what you've done. Now start over today.
That's it. Well, it's like a couple quotes. One that I've always had is like, when you're digging yourself in a hole, the best thing to do is just stop digging.
Right.
That's the one. And in the fitness industry, it used to be best time to plant a tree was 25 years ago. Second best time is today.
Right.
You can start over. And I was laughing with a buddy before we were talking about past, and I said, man, why do we make fun of people that live with their trophies in the past? Al Bundy, Uncle Rico, these characters were like, okay, Uncle Rico, you won the state championship 30 years ago, but yet we are okay with allowing people to do it with their shortcomings.
Right.
It just doesn't make sense. Like, society's like, oh, I'm going to be beat up for the rest of my life because of mistakes I made, but yet I can glorify these things that I've done. So you got to almost be child mind-like to be able to turn it off. Like when a kid gets injured and they cry their eyes out for 3 to 5 seconds and they're off playing again. You have to be able to do the same thing with mistakes. It's like, yeah, you got to learn from them, but you shouldn't make the same mistakes twice. And yes, we do. And yes, I'm in the same boat. Hey, man, if we had my wife on this podcast, we'd be here for an entire week talking about the shortcomings and the things I've done, and all rightfully so, man. But, I've tried to move on from those mistakes and get it right now, right? And that's all I'm going to try to get it right now. And
you can bounce back. You can come back, but you've got to change the way you're thinking about your life.
Absolutely. All right. So then I know we covered this one, how to create a legacy, kind of all in there. And this one just be for some people in the industry. If you were going to go back in roofing sales because you're out of the game, but you see a lot of it, right? And man, there's so many great companies out there, right? Phenomenal companies. What's 3 to 5 things that you would look for if you were going back into roofing? Like if you were going back in, what would you do?
So the first thing I would look for in a company is to find a plug and play environment, right? I don't know everything. I don't want to know everything, but what I do want is a place to where I can take my skills, get them developed, and just not have to create a system to figure it out. I don't want to do that. I want to find an environment where they have processes in place. They give clear understanding about what my steps are for success every day. I want a plug and play environment. And so I don't have to figure it out. If I want to figure it out, I'll start my own company. But if I'm going to work with somebody, that's what I want. I want them to see my talent. I want them to put my talent into their process and system, and together us create some huge upside and win for both of us. That's number one. The second thing is I want to know inside of a company what the exchange rate looks like. And what I mean by that is if I give, what do I get? And see, most of the time people go, what do I get, without thought of what do I give? And that exchange rate is really important. And I've seen companies, Dustin, where you go in and you gut yourself, you give yourself, you bleed yourself for the company, and there's not a reciprocation
At all.
Right? And so I want to find out historically what the give and the get looks like. If I give you what you're asking for and you're telling me that I'm going to be successful if I do, what is that I am going to get? And it's not just all about, I get 2 more points paid, or I get a little bit more money here. And, all of us are looking for
something different. It's what you really want.
What is it?
Yeah.
Right. And so companies, I've seen this happen on a regular basis. Companies ask for a lot and many times don't give in return.
Yeah.
And so what happens is good people circle the wagon so many times just trying to find a company that is willing to give as much as they're getting.
Yeah.
And so, that would be the second thing I'm looking for. What does that give and get look like? If I'm giving you X amount of talent, time, and ability, what does that look like? Because you're looking at that as a sales guy from me. If I'm committing and investing in this guy, what am I getting out of it? I would not overlook that. And then the final thing is I want to know what the team's tenure looks like. And not just how long they've been there, but what their path to progress has looked like. So, look, y'all been in business 2 years. Look, you guys have been with you from the get-go. And to see how they have progressed as a new guy coming in, would really matter to me. That it's not just one guy, but
It's
there's
multiple.
exactly.
Yeah. Well, it's so I some of the same things, and it's crazy, and I don't say this because I have the company, but this is how I try to run my company, right?
Right.
Is you know when I can get to a company, what's their vision? Because if I don't have a vision, if I'm working for a company, obviously I have to believe in their vision. It'll never work. I can remember the companies I worked for, the fitness industry, two of them I would have bled for, and you could have never told me I was going to leave those companies because I believed in their vision. And I think that's super important, and it is. Who's been there and how long and what have they done? We always get promised a dangle the carrot, and I've seen in every roofing company. You hear the horror stories. They promise me this and promise me that, and ownership. And I go, hey man, you can look at my track record in 2 years, and I put my money where my mouth is.
Right.
I've made two owners in our PDR company. I've made two owners in our Houston market or more, one, two. And then a couple additional companies we've made additional owners in, right? And so I've made total with just results
Right.
only. There's now 21 different partners in some shape or form off of the work they've done, not counting, team leads being promoted, guys been with us, and there's countless stories. We've had guys that started here, had to work 3 jobs, couldn't pay their bills, making 6 figures now and financially secure. Guys that were not able to eat and now, and it's not just one, right? It's 5, 6, 7,
Right.
making not only the most money in their life, but their life is becoming fulfillment. They're doing other things because it's not just about the money. If you chase the money and it's guys look to be a hired mercenary, if you will. They go chase the money, and that's what you're going to get. If you're just chasing money, it's always going to be about the money. That's okay, but you have to be okay with that. And so for me, I look for those as well, and I'm a huge advocate of that. It's like, okay, if you promise these guys so many things and in 10 years no one's achieved it, there's a couple things. Yes, it could be you've hired the wrong people, which means you're a terrible judge of character. The odds are, though, when someone leaves the company, and I take this very personal from a standpoint, it's my fault. They don't quit organizations, they quit leaders. And when people quit this organization, I take it very personal because I'm like, what could I have done to change them? And I analyze that with everybody. Man, some of it hurts. I beat myself up about it. Like, what could I have done a little bit differently, right? I could have interacted with that person more, try to connect with them more. I dropped the ball. It's my fault. It's not their fault. Don't care where they go, what happened. It bothers me when people leave. Generally really, really does. And I look at that, but so many owners, he ran off and started his own company. Well, do you blame him? If he's done, like you said, so many things from the get-go, he checked all the boxes, A through Z, that you wanted him to do, and you said you'd give him a piece of the pie, and now you don't fulfill your end of it, you're a hypocrite. As an owner, you're on the hook too. You have to be able to provide that for them, what they want. And if you haven't taken the time to figure out what they really want, because it's not money. Yes, you need money to pay bills and survive and live a good life, but people always want something outside of money. It's a legacy, it's a fulfillment, it's free time. They want to take that money and do something else. It's never about the money, really. There's always something else that triggers it to be about money. Money is just the easy scapegoat. That's how we live and how we get by.
And the fact is, every company is going to have what I call outliers.
Yep.
That are just not going to work.
100%.
It just doesn't work.
Yep.
People come in, they make promises they can't fulfill, or there's something that happens that it's not a fit for this person to be in the company. I get that. But that should not be a standard, and that should not be constant. Turnover should not be and it may be, but I'm not going to work at a place like that. I want to see that people are getting in, they're bumping around, they have some differences of opinions, but they work through it, and promises are made, promises are kept, and the give and the get equals out.
And this is why I used to judge myself work. I love that people are like, well, if you give me this, I'm going to do that. And that's such bullshit.
Right.
Your work ethic is your work ethic. Look, I own a piece of 5 companies now, and I got asked the other day how much it was, and I go, I don't know. And they're like, what? I go, I have no idea, because what I give you is irrespectful of what I have. Right. I said, if my name's on it, you're getting everything you got from me, right? You're not getting, I don't care if it's 5% or 100%. If my name is on that, I'm giving to you. So it's irrelevant how much percentage I own. It doesn't even matter to me. I don't even look at it, because this is the way I always told myself in the company. I'm never going to complain about something and never going to go at you what you didn't do unless I gave you everything I had.
Right.
And so many people in business world, they want a guarantee. They want the money back. Well, you didn't do this because you said you were going to do this, but yet you're half-assing days. Imagine if your boss said, hey, Reggie, you gave me 50% last week. I'm going to take your pay and give it to 50%.
Right.
But that never happens. But why? But we give our owners, our work part. We give people half-ass 20%, 50%, 75%, but we want 100% in return. And it doesn't work that way. And I manage my work ethic off that. I'm never going to come to you about something unless I know I gave you 100%,
Yeah.
right? And if I didn't give you, if I only gave you 80, I'm giving you 120% the next day.
Right.
I'm going to make sure at the end of the day that I did everything I could to make sure you got what you wanted. So therefore, if I needed to ask for something one time, you better give it to me.
And if that's the culture, so to speak, again, a word that's like
Thrown out like
randomly
candy.
used. Yeah. It's like, if that's the environment you can create, you will never have problems recruiting. This is what I tell guys all the time. There may be a challenge inside of your business that you're just not aware of that is continuing the process of not being able to get and keep good people.
Yeah.
Look deep. I mean,
Gotta
it's
be
not
authentic.
always everybody else.
No.
There could be. And so being able, that's another thing that I enjoy doing. I mean, I don't really have dogs in the fight when it comes to this, but if you ask me, here's what I found, Dustin, true. My opinion matters when asked for. Every other time I blurt my opinion out until people ask for it, it has little or no effect.
Yeah.
But when you say to me, hey, man, what do you think? Brace yourself, because I'm going to come in and I'm going to look and analyze and talk you through things that may make you uncomfortable. But the fact of the matter is, if you want to create something different, this is what I talk about a lot. The fruit of your business is not the problem. It's the root of your business.
Yeah.
And so for real change to happen, the root has got to be removed. And that's hard.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to do that. I mean, because it takes time. It's embarrassing at times, and nobody wants to do it. But listen, you can be producing a bunch of fruit, but it's people put their teeth into it, and it's not what they want. And then you question, what's the problem? The problem is somewhere back before the fruit was produced, there's a root system that needs some adjusting, because what your root is comes from a seed you planted that will produce in like kind the fruit you see.
Yep.
And so, I love those opportunities too, to be able to go in and say, let's look at this thing from a different perspective. Not like all of this whistles and bells that are out there that you're producing and everybody sees, but what is causing you not to be able to get the result that you and, whoever else you're partnering with wants.
Yeah, well, and it's your team. It's who's running the show.
Yeah.
It's. I believe that I work for our team. They don't work for me. And I wish I could touch everyone all the time. I wish I could interact with them all day, every day. Right? I wish I could spend a day with everybody on the team. And obviously, when you get to a large organization, you get 50 plus people in multiple companies. That's just not the case. And so that bothers me at times because I want to be able to instill that. But I think that when you're talking about the culture, the problem is they want to instill a culture or core values. But the problem is they want to instill core values that they think other people want, and it's not what they really want. And so therefore it's unauthentic, and you're never going to have true core values. Look, if you don't like me, that's fair. That says everything about you and nothing about me. I'm not here to like everyone, have everyone like me, right? But I also don't make a judgment. It's like sports is a crazy thing. I've gotten away from sports in the last few years just because I feel like it's a lot meaningless to me. I watch some UFC, but you'll watch a favorite player. Like, I'm a Lakers fan, so I would hate every Celtics player, like just despise him. The guy sucks. Why?
Right.
Well, because Paul Pierce broke my heart.
Right.
He cost Lakers a ring, and now I realize how silly it kind of is. But that's how we do it in life. We don't like someone just because of one thing we've either saw or read.
Right.
And it's just crazy to me that happens. But when you're trying to build this culture with people and you're so unauthentic because you think the 7 core values need to be something that other people are going to go, oh, that looks good. But if you don't truly believe in it, you just come off as a fraud. And that's not going to really be your core values. That's really not going to be your culture. So you're going to set this fake precedence of what the culture is. So when people come in for those items, but you're living this item because items is who you really are, that's why you're going to have people quit, right? If you're upfront with them, this is who I am. This is how I operate. This is my core values. If you don't believe in them, maybe this isn't the place for you.
So let me say this, and then we'll move on because I know our time's about gone.
Yeah,
let me say this. One of the things that I've noticed about y'all is, though there is a leader, you have partnered with talent that allows you to replicate what you feel in them that affect others. I think the day has passed where we're building roofing companies or companies in general off personality, meaning one. It's still out there.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, you can't do everything,
No.
and you can't even try to do everything. You can try, but why not just empower people, which you've done here? I mean, I know your guys, and them become a reflection of you to the people you can't touch every day. That to me shows balance, and that to me shows health of an organization, so that everybody can have the nutrients they need. It
Yep.
just doesn't have to come directly from your hand.
Well, the problem, you have to be super secure with who you are.
Right.
Most people don't want to be. It's so weird. They don't want to be surrounded by people more talented than them, right? It's really, you want to be the most talented guy. You want to win, and that's what people, they think. Would I rather win or me personally be the best? And for me, it's a legacy. I don't want to be the smartest guy in the room, and I hope there's guys that are more talented than me, and I hope I love that we have guys on our team that are better than me. That makes my heart happy because I want to win championships, right? And so for me, it's like with sports, why would you not want to work with the best? Tom Brady won 7 rings, not because maybe he was the best quarterback of all time. You can argue it. I think he is, but he was willing to take a pay cut to surround himself with the best people. And that's why you see a lot of these high-paid quarterbacks. They never win a Super Bowl after they become the highest-paid quarterback because you can't surround yourself with additional talent. And Tom Brady was never even in the top 15 really high-paid quarterbacks because he knew that money needed to be spent on other players to put him in a situation to win. And now no one can argue it. And so I try to do the same thing. I use a lot of analogies with sports, but even with it's weird if you were, we talked about this the other day in the meeting, and it was about, who played high school, college sports, and were you the best on your team? A couple guys, like I went on to play college, Big 12, All-American, like some crazy achievements. And so I laughed at this in sports. It's we judge people in work off of the work they do. So if you and I are both, call it sales guys, and I go door knock for 8 hours and you only go door knock for 4, I start throwing you under the bus. Well, I'm not going to go door knock because Reggie's only doing it 4 hours a day. Why can't I do for 4 hours, right? Well, so-and-so didn't show up today, so I'm not going to show up today. So we start comparing ourselves to the effort of others. But in sports, that would never happen. You think Kobe Bryant looked around the locker room and said, well, hey, man, that guy's not training 8 hours a day, so I'm not. No, he set himself out to be the best. And it's so crazy in the work environment. We'll let other people's shortcomings become our reality. And why would you ever allow that? Why would you watch other people around you, watching them come up short and say, hey, man, I want to be that guy?
So, listen, Bryce Young, recent Heisman Trophy winner. I'm an Auburn fan, so.
You're speaking of the devil language now.
You said it.
Yeah.
But they were interviewing him and his dad at the Heisman ceremony the other day, and his dad they said, what's the best pieces of advice you ever gave him? He said, if you're in a gym shooting hoops and you're the best guy in there, you're in the wrong gym.
100%.
And so, to your point, you have iron sharpens iron. And you have got to put people around you, and this is a whole different show about creating the right kind of huddle, that are not afraid to speak into your life and are willing to help you as the leader grow. And if you don't have that, you're capped. You can never, you'll never
grow.
Never. And so the guys I know you have here, they're not afraid to get in you if they need to.
No.
And they're not, with respect.
Absolutely.
And just being able to, you brought me here. Here's why you brought me here. And that type of atmosphere brings the right environment that helps people here that work with the leadership to thrive.
Yep. And I was talking to a guy just I think this morning, and he said something about, oh, you're not getting into me today or whatever. And I said, hey, I'll talk shit to your face and talk great behind your back. And he goes, hey, man, you know what's crazy is I've never heard from anyone you say a bad word about me behind my back. They always talk about how highly you talk of me, because I'm not here to say things to other people about your shortcomings. I'm going to say those one-on-one because I want us to grow. My only, goal and job is to help you become better personally, and help you become better professionally, because we all win when we all win. And until that point, it's irrelevant to me. And the other stuff is just outside noise. And I don't need to go chatter behind your back. There's ROI on that. It's zero. There's nothing that's going to come about me telling your shortcomings, because I have plenty of them. So I know we got
this is good
short on time.
Yep.
A few other questions, man. I think we could probably hold off for another time.
Yeah.
Man, Reggie, It was a pleasure.
Yeah, man.
Man, thank you for stopping
Of
by.
course. Appreciate
And
you having me.
I look forward to you're actually going to be speaking to our team for a little bit. And
Yeah.
so if anyone out there, look, I would suggest if you have the ability, if you don't know Reggie, if you're in the industry, you should reach out to him. If you're looking, whether it be if you're storm chasing,
Yep.
expand into a new market, something for your team, got questions, you
Yep.
want you to come speak to the team. I know you're doing a lot of that now.
Mm.
How can they get a hold of you? Email, best way?
Yeah, I mean, I'm easy to find on Facebook. Email me at reggie.brock@becn.com.
Okay.
I mean, my phone number's pretty easy to find, 817-908-0808. Just reach out. I mean, I'm here to help and to serve and hopefully to create more lift for people in their life of
Absolutely.
choices.
My man. That's
Yeah.
it. So we'll put that on there. So if you guys need to get a
Cool.
hold of him, reach out. Reggie Brock. Thank you guys.
All right. Thank you.